Caleb's in Oklahoma City. Hi, Caleb. What's up?
How are you guys doing today?
Better than we deserve. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. All right, so let's get on with my problem. I bought a car I thought I could afford back in July. I got it repoed yesterday, and I leave to go to the military next month, and I owe about $29,000. What should I do? Should I go and get it out of the repo and sell it, or should I just default the loan and pay the difference?
Wow. How old are you?
I'm 19 years old.
And you owe a $29,000 car loan.
Yes, sir.
What was your payment?
$685 a month.
Yeah. And what do you make?
I make a little over $2,000 a month.
That's painful.
Very.
So I'm happy to answer your question. Tell me what you learned from this experience.
I learned to ask for help when I need it, and don't buy materialistic things because you can. You can buy a cheap car, $15,000, and not have a payment on it. Now I'm worrying about the next step, what I have to do in order to get myself out of this bind that I put myself into.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody tell you not to buy this car?
Actually, everybody. But I went against everybody's word and said, you know what, I can do it. And here I am, couldn't do it.
Who told you not to buy it that you think you now can trust for advice on this type of thing?
My girlfriend's dad, and both of my parents.
Yeah, I'm going with your dad. Okay. So
Yes.
One of the things you learn is that, you know, when there's the Bible says in the multitude of counsel, there is safety. And you had a multitude of counsel telling you not to do this. And so that's one of the lessons I learned, by the way, when I went broke, was that there is a time to go against what everybody, in quotes, says. And there's a time when everybody in your life that loves you is saying, don't do this, that it needs to give you pause. And so nowadays I gather opinions, and I not only just what the opinion is. Okay, you say not to buy it. Now tell me why I shouldn't do this. And so I learn from the wisdom of these people around me, and sometimes I choose to discount it because their why they're telling me it doesn't make sense. Okay? But in your case, they would have said you can't afford it. A $600 payment on $2,000 is silly. A $30,000 car for 19 years old making $2,000 a month is out of control. I mean, these are the things they would have said to you if you'd ask why you're saying I shouldn't buy it. And then it would have led you away. So the trick is to not, it's horrible to go through this. It's much more horrible to go through it 2 times or 3 times because you didn't learn your lesson. That's why I wanted to ask you about that, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, here's what's going to happen. They're going to sell the car on a repo lot, and they're going to come after you for the difference. It's called the deficit balance. And so if they sold the car for, I'll just make up a number, $9,000, they're going to come after you for $20,000. If they sell it for $19,000, they're going to come after you for $10,000. You see what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
They will then settle that with you after they've been trying to collect from you and realize you are a broke young guy in the military that makes no money. They're going to realize they're not going to get that money from you. Most of the time, they don't get the deficit from the person. They can't get it out of them because the person's broke, thus their car got repoed, okay?
Yeah.
So they're kind of used to this, in other words, the people trying to collect from you. And so if you'll let it sit 6 months or more from the time they first contact you, talk to them and just go, I'm broke, I can't pay it. And then let them wallow around for about 6 months. They'll settle for somewhere around 25 cents on the dollar. So you've got about a year to save up 25% of what you think the deficit's going to be. What do you think the car's worth?
$23,000.
Okay.
It's a 2018 Ford Mustang.
If it sells for 19, you'll be lucky on the repo lot. So you need 3 $4,000 or $5,000 in an account to settle this with them, and then you will have a repoed car on your credit, and you will have a settled bad debt on your credit that you settled the deficit with them. Okay? And that will do the minimal amount of damage to your pocketbook and to your credit, and then you can begin to move forward. And from this point forward, if you want to be rich, pay cash for cars. Rich people don't take car payments out. And that's how they got rich.
Understood.
Okay. George, anything you want to add?
Well, it just reminded me of the verse, adults devise a plan and children do what feels good. And right now I'm talking to a kid. But you're about to go serve our country, enter the military. You're an adult. And so I just want you to start making adult decisions and do what's best for your financial future. So when you come back, you can't afford a $15,000 car, like you mentioned. You're going to save up and pay cash for maybe a $3,000 car and upgrade it over time, and you're going to stay out of debt. You're going to have an emergency fund so that you never have to deal with this again, so that you can build wealth, so that you can be a 25-year-old guy who's married with a family who leaves an incredible legacy. So I want you to start thinking about your future and the kind of man you want to be and the kind of future you want to have.
Yeah. Now, we've all done stupid stuff like this, Caleb, and so me included. I did it with zeros on the end, so we're not picking on you in that regard. The trick is to not. My goal in my life is don't do the same stupid thing twice. There's enough new stupid things to do without doing the same one twice, and so learn from it. Right? Learn from it and don't go do the same one again. And this one is about debt and about buying things against the multitude of counsel, and that takes you in the right direction. That's a sad story.
Yeah.
It's a harsh thing. Thank you for serving your country, too. We appreciate you.
I remember being 19 and thinking whatever people told me not to do, I wanted to do it even more.
I'm still that guy.
You love a challenge.
I make most of my living going against convention, right? The things we teach here are perpendicular to cultural norms and beliefs. That's not bad. But what is bad is when you have people of wisdom all around you saying, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And you go, I'm doing it anyway. And man, hadn't we all done that? I've done that so many times, and every time it leaves a mark.
Yeah.
You don't do that, though.
Well, I haven't done stupid with as many zeros as you have.
No, few have. Very few.
You're impressive in that regard. But, like you mentioned,
that was my goal, to impress George today. That was it. I got up this morning. I said, I hope I can impress George today.
Oh, I bet. Looked in the mirror. That's what you said.
It's the first thing out of my mind.
But it's a good principle. Are you going to learn from this? What are you going to do after this is all over and you've cleaned this mess up? Are you going to make another mess?
Well, it is an interesting thing to think about. What is the difference between standing against a cultural norm that is universally dumb? Like everybody says you need a credit score. So do you go get a credit score? No, that's not what we're saying. But on the other hand, being able to take the input of wise people in the multitude of counsel, their safety. So what you want to do is if you're taking counsel from other people, multitudes, in other words, you're going to get 4 or 5 people's input on a decision, ask them why they're saying, should I do this? No. Okay, why? And then line up their whys, and really what you're learning from is the whys. And if someone says you need a credit score, well, why? Well, because you need to be able to get into debt. Well, why? So you can get further into debt. Well, why? So you can get further into debt. Well, I'm not following that, okay? But if I get logical, good critical thinking skill answers back when I ask why, and they start to line up across several people, then I go, oh, well, this is starting to make sense then.
The whys will make you wise.
Yeah.
You see what I did there?
Ooh, I saw that. That's a nice twist.
Thank you.
Well played.